Okay, last week we did a video over on 15 and we showed you our progress with the green expansion and the bunker renovation. We had to stop with that for now because we couldn't get concrete in. Capillary Concrete, it's a great product, but it's fairly new company and they're still working out some kinks that they're dealing with Eastern Concrete. And since Eastern Concrete is where we get the product from, Capillary Concrete ships their canisters up to Eastern Concrete, but Eastern Concrete's such a big company that they throw a smaller project like us on the back burner. And I've been dealing with a lot of stress with that, so we're on hold with that for right now. All we have to do is the drainage and the concrete, which is a fairly quick process. So we're ahead of schedule. We weren't able to finish all of the sod work either, so I can only get 5 pallets of sod at a time from the sod company, at least 5. So we have to open up some more areas so we can get the amount of sod that we need. So we moved over to 13, and as I explained before last week, Tillinghast is an absolute genius. His golf courses are world-renowned. I think he has 15 to 20 golf courses in the top 100, which, you know, it tells you that it stands the test of time. This is one of his earlier golf courses, and he was building this with Baltusrol at the same time. And some of the design features here, you could see it's an absolute Tillinghast course. They got lost throughout the years, like I explained last week, from areas growing in, and you can't see all the rollingness and his exact design features. So we're trying to accentuate that around, and it's coming out pretty good so far. I'll show you this hole because I was really excited to get to this hole. This is one of my favorite green complexes. Right now I know the green's a little bit flat, but that's just because you can't see where the green used to be. This is really an amazing design, an amazing hole, and I can't wait till you see the finished product with it. But we'll show you where we started. Right now what we're gonna do is, I'm over here taking some of the sand out of this bunker. We're gonna rebuild this bunker a little bit. I have pictures from 1931 that shows the old design of the bunker. The other thing, there was a bunker in the back right, but we can't put that one back in because we have so much irrigation work over there. You can see our guys working now, and we'll show you a little bit of that. But we're gonna try to reshape them pretty much what they were like in 1931. So I have some good pictures I'm working off of. The other thing I want to mention about this golf course in particular, I've had a dozen or more professionals in the business, one world-renowned superintendent that's actually one of my mentors. And the first time he stepped on this property, he said it's a very special place that you can't quite see yet because of overgrown trees and areas growing in. So it's just so exciting that we're getting back to the original design, and I think you guys are going to be so impressed. And I know that other courses, other people will notice that it's a Tillinghast course once we get these little details in. I want to show you some details that, you know, what that guy was talking about. And, you know, a lot of people, there's always arguments over trees. Us superintendents, we actually love trees. We're outdoors people, so we're gonna love trees. We love everything about grass and trees. This whole left side of this fairway, this is an example of poorly planted trees. You have a pine tree that sits 5 feet off of the fairway, along with 3 pin oaks, and then a walnut tree, which is an odd tree to pick to plant there. The problem is these trees are only going to get bigger. The roots are coming into the fairway. There's way too much shade there, and actually these trees, because they're planted so close together and so close to that fence line, they're not even healthy trees. They're actually not nice trees at all. The whole half of the side is very condensed in, and it doesn't get a chance to grow out because of the trees on the other side. Plus, you know, I know there's always the argument that the trees make the golf course harder, but I could also argue that right now you're taking the out of bounds out of play, because a ball would hit that tree and bounce all around instead of, you know, just flying in the air and going way out of bounds because there's not a backstop there. something I would like to address, but I try not to get into the political talk of trees. I know that everybody's sentimental with trees. I could just give you my professional opinion, and then we could decide from there. But those are some trees. They also affect the health of this fairway. We're gonna have to add drainage in here. You can see all the shade up there right now at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's a problem. This fairway never gets to dry out, and for some, that's why I can't allow carts across here after a heavy rainstorm. The soil never dries because it doesn't get enough sun and enough air movement. And what happens is then we get a rainstorm and the water won't penetrate because that soil is already wet. So another good thing to do is if you could get more sunlight and more air movement in here, we could dry that soil out, and then after a rainstorm, the water will get sucked up in there. It's a long topic of conversation, but it's just an idea of what I see. This would just be a much better looking hole if you could see the design features in the hole. But we're up at the green complex now, and I'll show you some of this stuff. We're gonna expand the approach like I talked last week with the mowing. The approach is from the beginning of the green. I mark off 15 paces where we cut it shorter. That way we could get the runners up through there, and your ball doesn't stop on this approach. It will go right up to the green if you hit a good shot, especially if it's firm. We're gonna widen this a little bit like we did 15. I'll bring the approach right into the bunker. So this would be a more wide open space, and it affects your depth perception like I explained last week. Plus, your ball has more of a chance of going in the bunker. We're redoing these bunkers, so we want them to be utilized. I know some other courses, just their fairway bunkers, the fairway runs into the bunker. You don't see many courses where the approach runs into the bunker. So it's something kind of new I'm trying. But we like to look at 9 and 18, and 15 looks good. And we're gonna see if it holds up. If it doesn't, it's a quick change back to rough. If we have to put a little bit of rough in between, we could come back and do that for a couple $100. It's not a big deal. We'll walk up around the green here. One thing with Tillinghast too, any old course, we got to keep in mind, they were not as sophisticated with turf management as we are now. So they had all their greens. When they built greens, they all sloped from back to front. That way all the water would drain off. I could tell from this one, last spring, we fixed the front of this green so it would dry out a little bit and the water didn't sit on the green by just cutting this down, and then the runoff would come down through the front. This green's a little bit different, which I like, which is what I really like about it. It drains to the front a little bit, but also to the left here. That means, we're gonna cut in here a little bit because we still have some water that sits up here. So we'll cut this down a little bit, expand it, and then we can get the water to drain off of the green. This is one of our wetter greens, and it's one of the hardest greens to maintain because, as you can see, it's 11 o'clock and we're not getting much sunlight here. You need at least 8 to 10 hours of sunlight on greens cut like this low for them to survive. If you don't, they start thinning out, and you can see in the past where after a rainstorm, this is one of the wetter greens. Hopefully we're going to fix some of this with those backstops and getting the water to drain here. This would be a perfect example to put drainage in a green. I would love to come right through the middle and grab some drainage in here. Also, those trees in the back really affect us. To be honest with you, it's more the neighbors' trees because of the sun angle this time of year. This is the most sun that we're getting on this green right now throughout the day. Within an hour and a half, it's going to be about 80% shade, which is something that is hard to deal with. I spend more money a year on this green than any other green just because of the growing environment. You always want to have as much air movement and sunlight as you possibly can. We've done a good job with it, and we've improved it last year from just getting the water to drain off the front, but we're still working on it. It's a little bit longer video, but I want to explain everything. Back here, we're gonna bring the green right back around. This will be all green right through here. So we can pick up pin placements around here. And again, hopefully we can get that more slope and low grass so that water will push that way. It's a really important thing for us right now. You can see his design features too. Just look how awesome this rolling is. And when we're finished with the low grass, from the view from the fairway is going to be spectacular. I think this might be our best one yet once we're finished. I think you'll love it. You can see his little rolling on the front of the green also. Back here, our A team is doing some irrigation that, you know, people don't realize this either. When we're doing these green expansions, we have to move the sprinklers out beyond the green so they don't come into play. So my key guys here are doing a great job moving the irrigation around. And this is all going to be green and collar. Pick up some great pin placements and hopefully get the ball to roll around more. In the front here, same thing. You know, we're contemplating coming all the way up here, but I think that's unnecessary because we could still get the ball to move around through here with this hump that we got here. But just a real cool flow. That's what Tillinghast is great with. Just the nice flow of the land. It sits right in here. It just looks so natural. Then through here, I'm gonna change this bunker a little bit. I saw from pictures that it wasn't so, you know, it was more just rounded. There weren't these little crazy things in through there, which can be a maintenance headache, but the style will just look more simple and just a better look. We'll then bring the approach. This will be part green here, approach. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. We'll take the approach right into the bunker, right around the fairway. So generally, like I said, the more short grass, it's gonna look like a bigger hole to you guys. We do have to work on more sunlight through here. I just think this whole area needs a little more sunlight so it dries up. We're gonna get some drainage in through there because I know that's a wet nightmare. But for playability too, you want it a little bit drier. And I don't ever like telling you guys no carts because I know you're here to play golf and that's all you want to do. I hate those decisions, so I want to try to, you know, just make one decision, carts or no carts. I can't stand seeing you guys walk across the street here. It makes me feel guilty sometimes, but I'm just protecting the course. So hopefully we work on some of that, get this dried out, and we'll move forward. But again, we have such an awesome property here, and I know you guys probably aren't into it as I am, but this is amazing stuff we're doing, and I hope outsiders notice and we get some more members from it. Thanks.